A lot of people think that it exists because we look at high-profile races like presidential campaigns or very competitive statewide elections for the Senate or the governor's race, and we see examples of voters or the media treating male and female candidates differently, describing Hillary Clinton as shrill but not Bernie Sanders, talking about how a female candidate looks but not a man. But systematically, there's really very little evidence of gender bias in U.S. elections. In the 2010 and 2014 midterm elections, there was virtually no difference in the kinds of campaigns that male and female candidates ran, the kinds of media coverage they received, either in terms of volume or substance, or the assessments that voters gave to them. We've known for a long time that when women run for office, they do just as well as men and they raise just as much money. But in a new book that Danny Hayes and I wrote called Women on the Run, we find that they face a very similar campaign trail along the way as well. Well, the 2016 elections are a little bit different for two reasons. The first is Hillary Clinton, and the second is Donald Trump. Hillary Clinton made history by becoming the first major party nominee who's female, and that is novel in and of itself, which means that it's going to get a lot of news coverage, and she's going to talk about the history-making nature of the campaign. So in some ways, she's cueing people to think about the sex of the candidate. Similarly, Donald Trump has said over the course of the last campaign, the last year, many sexist things, overtly sexist things, not only directed at Hillary Clinton, but at other women. And that, too, has cued voters and journalists to cover sex and bias in a way that they might not ordinarily do so. There aren't many barriers that they encounter once they've decided to run, but in making that decision in the first place, gender is very relevant. Women are systematically less likely than men to consider running for office. They're less likely to think they're qualified, even when on paper they look exactly the same, and they're less likely to receive the suggestion to run for office from party leaders, elected officials, political activists, but even from family members, colleagues, and friends. So if we can close that gender gap in political ambition, once they hit the campaign trail, they face a very level playing field. In general, female voters want the same things that male voters want. They want a candidate who is strong on the economy. They want a candidate who is strong on national security. We know that female voters are more likely than male voters to be Democratic, and we know that in every presidential election since 1980, they've been more likely to support the Democratic candidate. But at the end of the day, it really is the D or the R in front of the voter's name and the candidate's name that determines who that voter selects, and that's the case for both women and men. The historic nature of this campaign really can't be understated or overstated, because I think in a lot of ways we've been expecting it for a very long time. Hillary Clinton has been on the front page of the newspaper for 25 years. So for a quarter of a century, we've sort of been bracing ourselves for this moment. By the same token, most women and men, I think, who watched the night that she pretty much became the nominee felt something that demonstrated real progress in this country. And so I think there are two competing emotions at stake, which is we've really broken through. There really has been a shattered glass ceiling, but we've known for quite some time that if it was going to happen, it was going to be Hillary Clinton. So in some ways, it's sort of the anticlimactic version of making history.